Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the activity college admissions. So this is going to continue building intuitions and critical thinking about sets by looking at Venn diagrams and such, but it's also a great way to fold in more equity. So not only talking about like what are colleges looking for and what does college look like and talking about college in general, but like maybe you can even start talking about how does someone's identities or background affect college admissions, how does it affect the things that colleges are looking for, and that kind of thing. Okay, so to start off, we look at this first sheet, and it really kind of breaks college admissions, or at least what colleges are looking for, down to three sort of categories: academic excellence, being well-rounded, and coping skills. And this first section is really getting students to really think about like, what do those categories really even mean? The most straightforward one, it looks like, might be academic excellence. Most students know what academic excellence looks like, right? So for example, you could talk about SAT scores. But being well-rounded, that one's a little bit harder. And you can also fold in, why do colleges want to care about people being well-rounded? Why do colleges care about people having coping skills? But being well-rounded could be something like athletics. And then you can also really play the game of like, what do these intersections look like? What is something that is both a coping skill and academic excellence look like? What about being well-rounded and a coping skill? One could argue that athletics should maybe go in that intersection there. Okay, once you've done this activity, you've sort of talked about these sort of general categories, we really move into the math of the sets, and we're given this list of clues and a total number. So we know that the total number of students for like this round of admissions we've got is 140. And we've been given this list of clues here that kind of tell us roughly what's going on in this Venn diagram. And the goal is we want to be able to like fill it out with the numbers. So I really encourage your students to look at these clues not in order. In fact, starting with the clue 1, then clue 2, then clue 3 is probably one of the hardest directions to go. My favorite personally is going up this way. So start with clue number 7. And if you do that, clue number 7, 4 well people are well-rounded and exceeded academically and demonstrated great coping skills. Well, that's all 3 of them together. There's only one space that could be 4, and it's right here, number 4. And then things get a little trickier, right? So if we look at like clue 6, for example, academically developed and great coping skills, 13 people. But we don't want to just put a 13 here, because 13 people like is for this whole intersection here. They're saying this whole thing is 13 people, but we've already counted 4 of them. So what we need to do is we need to take 13, subtract away 4, and what do we get? 9. And if students are having trouble with this concept, go back to just looking at 2 circles on a Venn diagram, simplify the problem, and like address the sort of base confusion. And then you play this game with all the intersections, and you get these numbers here. And then you have to do the same thing for clues 1, 2, and 3 to fill out the big circles, but now you just have to make sure you subtract. So for example, for clue 1, 90 people are in academic excellence, and you subtract 16 and 4 and 9, and then you get 61. And then you can fill it out like this. Now, what we haven't used yet is the total number of students. And actually, if you add up all these things, they add up to 132, not 140, which is really strange. That's because this is supposed to be getting at the idea that there's a universal set. There's a set of all students who applied, and there are some students that didn't fit into any of these categories. And so they are in the complement, and there's 8 of them. I recommend, like, if students get to the 132 and they're like, wait a minute, what the heck's going on? Make sure you just let them know that there's a universal set. We should be looking at the complement as well. Not all students fit into all 3 of these categories. Okay, once you've done that, then you can start talking about like college admissions in general. So moving away from the sets language, they're talking about like, you know, what can you do to bolster these three areas to make yourself attractive to colleges. Or maybe like certain colleges might be looking for certain things in their students. And like what kind of barriers there might be for students trying to, build academic excellence or be well-rounded. Not everyone has the time for 2 hours of athletics practice after school, right? And building on this discussion yet further is the last page, where we're asked to reflect about like these advantages and disadvantages that people have in life, right? Not everyone is afforded equal opportunity to play after-school sports, for example. I was homeschooled. I did not have after-school sports. And so you could talk about like sets of people who have privilege and who are underprivileged, and you can really fold in this idea of equity and really talk about it in a really developed way with your students. And it helps to have it centered around college admissions to really focus the discussion.